Hey Scott, it's Friday. It's time for another transformation conversation. This is episode 6, which is bank customer information management for business and commercial customers. And as you can tell, today we're coming to you from the corporate headquarters of Prolific Banking in Midtown Atlanta.
Intergalactic headquarters.
Yes, intergalactic headquarters. And we're together, so you don't have separate screens this time. So thanks for joining us. So today we're going to talk about customer information management. And really, from my point of view, customer information management is really at the heart of digital transformation, because without that knowledge of customers, and we talk a lot about KYC, KYB, know your customer, know your business. But there's a whole part of a component to that about knowing the relationship and being able to see a lot more than the information that may be currently available about them. So if we look at the current environment, one of my observations is that customer information is siloed and may be different from system to system. Do you see that as well, Scott?
Absolutely. And in part, that's by design, right? When we talk about those fine-grained controls that are needed in some of those other systems that may be managing payments, that's where they belong. But when it comes to the overall relationship, right, that the bank has with a business, we could be talking about DBAs, there could be multiple tax identification numbers. The core can be a bit fuzzy insofar as what's where and how those entities line up. And rare is it that there's that overarching view for any business to say, aha, I have a business and they have all of these products and services, and this is how we service them in our bank.
Sure. And I think, I think my experience is that there are certain banks that has treasury management groups that actually try creating their own databases or their own Excel files to try to be able to access and manage that information as they need it.
Which is a challenge unto itself.
Right.
Accounts are being opened and closed, settings are being changed, so yeah.
And I think too, if we rely just on the core's customer information file or CIF, it could be ABC Corp in one place, it could be the ABC company in another, and it's hard to kind of get that all synchronized.
Not to mention sometimes the loans don't even exist there, or there are investment accounts and those sweeps are going in and out. It still doesn't give you the overarching relationship. It just gives you that core DDA.
Okay. Yeah. So let's consider the impact of that. So, we may be dealing with either stale or incorrect information. We may be making repetitive requests to the customer for basic information like their address, which hardly shows an intimacy in that client relationship. And there's really no single mechanism for updating that information other than really the core, which may or may not get updated on some regular cadence.
It's like when you call into customer support to some place and they go, well, give me your special code or give me something, and you give it to them, and then you get transferred to the next person and they go, what's your special code, right?
Exactly.
And what that does do, to your point, is some of those other systems that have their own settings, some of that data is stale or not available. If I open a new account, does it exist over here? Does it exist over there? That's a challenge.
And I think there are a number of banks that are trying to use horizontal technology tools like robotic process automation to sort of close some of those gaps. Do you think that'll work for them?
I do. Robotic process automation is the way to go. But I think it's limited in scope. I think a lot of what it solves is, and again, anything can solve, that type of technology can solve a lot of things, but there's a gap between what that's going to be able to do and what your customers are engaging. How am I pulling my customers in? Sure, I'm automating some processes on the back end, and potentially I'm doing some maintenance routines, but pulling all of that customer information, which could be in multiple different systems, that's a tall order.
It is. It most definitely is. So let's talk about what the ideal situation would be. I think it would be a holistic view of the level of engagement a customer has, looking at their products and services, as you mentioned, and also being able to look at the overall relationship. I think what you get out of a core, CIF is limited at best. You might have that information in an account analysis system,
Right.
But you'd have to go to multiple sources to get that, right?
Yeah, that, and don't forget, right, there's the whole CRM, and wherever that is in its maturity model from this, from where you are as a financial institution, but even pulling that information in is challenging, because how do I indicate to my sales team or my sales force, what is it that I should be mining from the standpoint of customers? Should I be pushing on this service or that service? And what's going to be good product market fit for my customers?
Exactly. So if we break it down, the real relationship components would be some type of a digital identity, if you will. Whether it's identity access management. I just read today that the EU has proposed a framework for digital identity. Now, obviously, the EU is very different. It's, again, more consumer-oriented. They actually own their data, where here in the U.S. we do not. But you can tell, just generally where things are going. So I think some central location for identifying and authenticated users is key, along with their services and their entitlements. I think knowing who their authorized signers are, knowing the services they're using, and really enabling a lot of cross-sell to continually expand the relationship. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, and we, in the biz, right, we can call that token identity, because I can authenticate to a central point, and that doesn't have to live within my bank walls, right? It could be my customer authenticating to their own ACL and sending an authorized token over to my system to where I can trust and authenticate into my own system. But one of the things, everything that you said, but one of the things too is future forward. Where are things going, right? Huge fintech boom. Fintech's all over the place. We were doing fintech before it was sexy, but hey, that's all right. But all of these new capabilities that are coming onto the market, whether it's payment exchanges or new ways of doing business and interacting, these are all coming with more modern methods of authentication and identity tokenization. And so as a financial institution, I want to be able to take these capabilities and pull them into my product offering, and that's where the IAM type of functionality is going to be critical, because I need to be able to consume these new technologies, quickly pull them in so that I can leverage these and stay competitive.
Exactly. Well, I think that's great. I think we'll leave that there. If you're watching this on our website, you can drop us a line at Scott@prolificbanking.com or Joe@prolificbanking.com. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, feel free to comment. We're happy to continue the conversation. Thanks so much for watching. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.